Victor. So let's start. Again, my name is Peter Kingu from FSDT. I'm responsible for SME policy and inclusive finance, and I'll be a moderator today. Before we start, I would like to share with you our house rules, I think, which are common for every webinar and also helps us to be more focused. First, we would require you to have videos off, microphone muted, so that we don't disturb each other and we stay focused on the key issues that we need to discuss. Secondly, if you have any text or you want to, you have a burning question, you can text us, and then Victor Kiando will raise up his hand and intervene when there's a really need for us to discuss. Otherwise, we'll keep the Q&A to the end. With that short introduction, I would like to welcome Eric Masinda, who is our interim CEO at FSDT, and he will provide us a background of this webinar, the rationale, and also give you another formal welcome. Karibu, Eric.
Asante, Doctor. Can you all hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, good. So in keeping with the house rules, I will keep my video off. So good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you all on the call, and to have you all attend this important webinar around the policy environment for operations of fintechs in Tanzania and how to foster an inclusive digital economy. So our main reason for organizing this webinar was to sort of provide a platform where policymakers and the Fintech Association of Tanzania and the Tanzania Fintech Association and its members could have a constructive and cordial dialogue around how to create or how to foster an inclusive policy and regulatory environment or a conducive policy and regulatory environment that fosters the development of an inclusive digital economy for Tanzanians. And also for policymakers and regulators to sort of be able to articulate the various initiatives that they're currently working on to support fintech operations in Tanzania. Also to sort of dispel any misconceptions or myths about surrounding the policy and regulatory environment for fintech operations in Tanzania, but also to provide a platform for both fintechs, policymakers and regulators and development partners such as ourselves, and we're happy that to have UNCDF in the room as well, just to really discuss like through the challenges that fintechs experience in terms of operating in Tanzania and how we could all collaborate better to create, as I mentioned earlier, a conducive policy and regulatory environment for fintechs to operate. Because as far as FSDT is concerned, we strongly believe that fintechs have a really can play a really huge role in fostering a deeper level of financial inclusion and overall deepening of financial services, especially within the financial infrastructure space, and ensuring sort of last mile delivery of financial services for those who are either most excluded or underserved. So with those few words, I would encourage you all to please, feel free to be open and, really constructively engage with each other. And we will, and sort of the outcomes from this will also help us as FSDT, and I'm sure our colleagues at UNCDF as well, to see how we can also better support both fintechs and policymakers and regulators to foster a more conducive environment for fintechs to operate in the country. So with that, I would like to welcome you all and to now hand it back to Dr. Kingu to proceed with the rest of the webinar. Asante sana.
Thank you very much, Eric, for the opening and welcoming the webinar attendants. And I will move on to introduce the distinguished panelists. So when I introduce you, because you have video of you, it will be nice if you switch on your video so people can know you, and then you'll probably switch off until you come back to speak again. First, I will start with Dr. Sigbert Ruiza, who is the Assistant Manager of Financial Service Technology and Innovation at the Bank of Tanzania. He has a strong interest in inclusive digital financial services, but he's also a certified risk manager, and he has spent quite a long time in managing risk for the central bank system in Tanzania.
Gmail yani hiyo inakuja fast.
Yeah, Mr. Kalinga, can you mute please? And then I would like to see Dr. Riza so that they, as a panelist, to show his video, please.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I've not seen you, but we'll move on because of the time. And then the next panelist will be Edmund Mbokosi, who is also from the Bank of Tanzania. He's the acting assistant manager working with the Department of Financial Inclusion. His main area is focusing on monitoring evaluation for the implementation of national financial inclusion, but he's also responsible for development of policies, regulations, conducting analysis, driving financial inclusion in Tanzania. If you are around, please show up your video so that people can see you quickly.
I'm here, Peter. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Edmond. And then I'll move to Annette Kasebele, who is the policy specialist from UNCDF. Strong experience in policy, regulation, and supervision, but also strong interest in technology, innovation, and digital finance, more specifically on fintech. And I think she's a bit excited about this webinar today. If you can switch on your video, Annette, would be great.
Thank you, Peter. I think my video is on. And hi, everybody.
Thank you. I'll move to Ruben Mwatosia. Ruben is the Vice President of Tafina, Tanzania Fintech Association, and co-founder of Tempo Plus, excited fintech enthusiasts. And if you would like to say hi to the audience, please switch on your video.
Hi, I'm Ruben. I'm happy to be here. I'm super excited to represent Tafina as well as Tempo in this forum. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I'll move to Engineer Fuad Adam, a manager from the TCRI, Tanzania Telecommunication Internet Services. And if you would like to say hi to the attendants, please switch on your video. Edmund, Engineer Fuad Adam. All right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can't see you, but probably once you have fixed, I'll move to Mr. Hussein Shaban from Costec. He has been with Costec for more than 7 years. He's a CPA and expert in innovation and incubation, supporting fintechs in Tanzania. Mr. Hussein, would you like to quickly say hi to the audience? Okay, then Mr. Hussein probably will join us as we continue. Engineer Fuad, are you back? Can you say hi to the audience quickly? Okay, I think there's some technical issues. Now I'll move to the questions. I'll start with Tafina. If you can quickly and briefly brief us, what is Tafina and how are you supporting fintechs in Tanzania? Very brief.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Doctor. Tafina is Tanzania Fintech Association, which is an apex association of members. These members of the association are fintechs and the fintech stakeholders. In other words, we have the very, very matured fintechs as members, but also the newest, the smallest fintech operators in Tanzania. Ideally, we represent the members and their interests to advocate for positive change. We push for inclusion, collaboration, and impact in Tanzania. So ideally, we should be inviting more members to join the association because we think if issues that we want to talk about, or any challenges we want to talk about with the rest of the stakeholders beyond the fintech operators in Tanzania, or regulators, or say international investors, we are that unified voice of the fintechs and startups ideally in Tanzania. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And then based on your experience where you've been working in the fintechs, what are the key challenges that you're facing as fintechs, but also as an association to drive inclusive fintech ecosystem in Tanzania?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that question. So ideally, the challenges are many, but I would focus on just a few that I think are important for this forum. So as I've said in the beginning, so I work at a fintech called Tembo as a co-founder. Ideally, I see all the problems that we have as a fintech, but as an industry, all the members have similar or related challenges when it comes to how they operate in Tanzania. So I've identified the 4 main challenges. One is limited funding. The other one is lack of talent of high quality in Tanzania. I will expand these points as I go. The third is challenges in relation to regulations and licensing. The fourth is anti-competitive practices in the market. So the first one, which is limited funding. So the majority of fintechs in Tanzania have issues raising money. Raising money meaning raising funding from outside or from outside stakeholders, either outside Tanzania or outside their company. So we have a lot of challenges around this area because of many reasons. Some of them might be because the companies are not fully formed, or maybe just because the ecosystem don't have enough angel investors or early stage investors, or the policies are not able to bring in more investors or to incentivize them to come and play into the ecosystem. So that's the first thing. The second piece I want to talk about is the challenges around talent. So if anybody is building a tech business in Tanzania, apart from fintech, anything that's tech related, they'll tell you it's hard to get very good developers or very good engineers in Tanzania. And I'm saying this because this is what most of the members at Tafina are saying, but it extends to other areas apart from engineering talent to compliance talent to business related sort of talent, and people are able to build the startup or the fintechs to a level that is required. So those are the first two: limited funding and talent. The third, which is more on the regulatory part of this, is there is a lot of challenges around regulations. And I'm saying this not to say that it is not enough, but I'm saying it could be better. So ideally, most of the fintechs would be unlicensed when they start. And then as they move, they may get some licenses. The challenge that we have with this is, apart from costs that are related to like acquiring these licenses and maintaining these licenses, with regulators like Central Bank of Tanzania or CMSA or TSRA or TIRA, TIRA. These would be around the process, but also the fact that most of these licenses were created not targeting fintechs. So the license that you would end up getting might be, MFI license or PSP license, but these licenses are specific for those players that are in the market. They were not originally created or made to tailor to what fintechs would do. The last one challenge that I've just said, and this is important because it's not about regulation, it's not about funding, it's not about talent, it's about the players in the market. So there is a lot of anti-competitive practices when it comes to collaboration in the market. So what we have seen is the major players, like the big telcos or the big mobile money operators in Tanzania, the bigger banks, the bigger insurance companies in Tanzania. We as fintech would want to partner with them, but the terms are a bit non-competitive, meaning the terms are not friendly. They make you expensive to operate in the market to the extent that it's anti-competitive, but also you might price this partner this way and price that partner that way because you are targeting this partner because you feel like this partner is going to be a competitor. So what I'm trying to say here is there is a lot of anti-competitive behaviors and practices that are going in the market, and they hinder development of fintechs in Tanzania. And I think that is important to look at. I don't have a better way of saying it, but it's more like the bigger players are actually like bullying the smaller players in most cases, the fintechs. Thank you.
Thanks a lot from Tafina, and I think you've provided a good background in terms of what are the issues that are happening, and the fact that we have regulators, other players in this panel, they've been in a good position. So I'll move to the Bank of Tanzania. Take into account, we've heard about the regulatory challenges that the fintechs are facing. Between Dr. Ruiza and Bokosi, what have been the challenge that Bank of Tanzania has been facing in supporting fintechs in Tanzania?
Okay, should I start?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, one of the key challenges actually we face as the regulators of the financial sector is the rapid growth of emerging financial technologies and innovations. As it is the case with the other jurisdictions worldwide, one of the prominent challenge to prudential regulators and the central banks is that of developing legal framework to accommodate the rapid growth of financial technologies and innovations while balancing with the financial stability and integrity. As a matter of fact, when you introduce new technologies in the financial sector, you expect some new challenges like risk might emanate, which need to be managed accordingly. So sometimes the speed of financial technologies and innovations, it does not keep pace with the changes of regulations to accommodate or to achieve the financial stability and integrity. The second challenge is just an availability of data on financial technologies and innovations. So data on fintech technologies and innovations are rather scarce, calling for the need of the bank to conduct a comprehensive survey to support evidence-based decision as explained in the third National Financial Inclusion Framework. Since financial inclusion initiatives should be implemented based on data and incremental learning. Now, for instance, mentioned about a few, data on registration of fintechs. Of course, the bank has to make efforts for getting data on fintechs. Secondly, geospatial distribution of financial companies in Tanzania. In financial inclusion, we do measure access, usage of the financial services, and the quality. So we needed to keep in touch on the distribution of financial companies, on how they are placed geographically. The other data which is important for us is the existing financial technologies and innovations. The other data which may be important for the regulator is the challenges experienced by financial fintech companies and the proposed recommendations. Maybe some of them might get from this discussion. You come to know what are the challenges, what are the recommendations they propose, which can make them explore in this financial sector. So far, as far as the central bank is concerned, and that the regulator, those are the key challenges which might impede the rapid coverage of fintechs in the inclusive digital economy.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ruiz. Now to Mr. Mombokosi. So take into account the challenge that you're facing as the central bank. What are some of the interventions that you have implemented in the recent years to ensure that you are supporting fintechs to thrive and grow in Tanzania? Or you can share the answers between yourself and Dr. Ruiz.
Okay, yes, Peter. Dr. Luisa has spoken a lot, but let me speak directly on the question which you're asking. You know, in a digital economy, we cannot leave behind the concept of digital financial services. So in promoting digital financial services, the Bank of Tanzania has in place various regulations and policies to ensure that it promotes access and the usage of financial services and products through growth of usage of digital financial services. So the first and the prominent ones which I can speak is about mobile money regulations. As you know, that huge part of digital financial services has been contributing much to growth of financial inclusion, and we cannot leave behind the matter of mobile money services. So mobile money, I mean, the Bank of Tanzania has been regulated mobile money services, and as we say that we can consider to state the the milestone which have been taken, that at least as per FinScope surveys, 72% of adults are using mobile money services. Again, to speak on the other policy, the Bank of Tanzania, the secretary to the National Council of Financial Inclusion, and coordinates implementation of National Financial Inclusion Framework. And within the National Financial Inclusion Framework, there are initiatives which promotes financial inclusion through usage, through financial usage of technology. So the National Financial Inclusion Framework has been monitored, and so far we have prepared 3 financial inclusions frameworks. The first frameworks ended in 2017, and the milestone was recorded. And then now we are having the third financial inclusion framework. You can access the milestones through the Bank of Tanzania website, and of course the facility has been also reporting the website. So stating clearly, the National Financial Inclusion is one of the best policies which coordinate the private and the public sector on monitoring financial inclusion, including promotion of growth of digital financial services. Again, looking on the side of promoting the growth of fintech, we have prepared the draft, of course, which is in approval process by the responsible ministries, the regulatory sandbox regulations, where digital innovators will be allowed to come and test their solutions. So this is one of the huge milestones which the Bank of Tanzania has recorded. Again, of course, looking on the side of digital central bank digital currency, or CBDC, as well as cryptocurrencies, the Bank of Tanzania, of course, is working to ensure that these are operated on the smooth side. So the Bank of Tanzania has formulated a committee for monitoring or assessing how to monitor cryptocurrency. So there are a lot which have been done by the Central Bank of Tanzania, and those are the few ones to mention. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mombokosi. I think you provided a good highlight of what has been happening and how much the Bank of Tanzania is working towards supporting the fintech ecosystem, despite the fact there are some challenges still exist. Now, taking into account the legal challenge that exists, probably my colleague from TCRA could share us highlight what are the challenges that TCRA is facing in supporting the fintech community in Tanzania. In particular, how they have been doing to support them to grow and really thrive in the digital economy that is thriving now in the country.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Chair, for having me. I'll go straight into the challenges. Just a minute. So the challenges can be attributed to the following. We have regulatory challenges in terms of regulatory framework, where we have to strike a balance between the fostering innovations and ensuring customer protection, and while maintaining the financial stability. As you see, our Tanzanian citizens are still very illiterate. The use of financial services, which are technology in nature, is difficult. So those are some of the challenges. And you can see our regulatory framework start with the BOT, then come to TCRI. So maybe that can be also another challenge. Also, there's the issue of compliance, assessing compliance. You know, fintech deal with money. And most of the fintech, they do lending. So as much as we need them, but there's the issue of licensing and compliances, which they have to address. So, and we have seen a lot of problem, especially on the Nikopo ya Kausha Dam. Most of them are digital lendings. So those are the issues in compliances. But we also have challenges on cybersecurity concerns, because this is technology, people use their phones to access those services. So we have to as a country, how do we make sure that the cyberspace is safe, people are consumers are protected, and they have to get the right services. Another challenge is the financial inclusions, because this technology needs the infrastructure, and you can see our country is very, very big. So in order to access the services, they have to pass through this infrastructure, which has been built by the operators. So this is also a challenge, and you can see that that's where we have USCAF coming in to make rollout everywhere. But we also have an issue in consumer protection. Do we have mechanism in protecting the consumers from fraud, misinformation, and the other risks associated with the financial transaction that can be conducted through the Fintechs platforms? So we think the regulator needs to ensure that consumers are adequately informed and they have recourse in the case of issues. Maybe through awareness and collaboration with the other stakeholders, the consumer can be taken on board, and even the service can be appreciated. Also, we need collaboration with traditional financial institutions. This is key, because we have to bridge the gap between the traditional financial institutions and fintech company. And this is the challenge. As previously said by the first presenter, that you have the big companies which are already established. They don't want to collaborate with the small companies. But what are we putting on the table? What are we offering so that we can collaborate? Those can be an issue also. So while we are trying to have a mechanism that can foster collaboration, but still there's a challenge there because of the trust and what can be brought into the table. But also we have data privacy. It's an issue also. Think for the government, they have introduced the data protection, personal data protection commission. Maybe that can be addressed through that area. So we have to establish some clear guidelines and ensure that fintech firms adhere to the data protection regulations. The last one is a technological infrastructure. As a country, we have to ensure that the country's technology infrastructure can support the growth of the fintech sector. But including the issue related to connectivity and access to digital services, very crucial. But we have to attract more licensees as well as working with USCAF to provide infrastructure in the rural areas. And I think the CRI is playing a big chunk, but also we need to have a lot of innovations that can help those end users who are not tech savvy to access the services through our current infrastructure of technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer. And probably I may have missed, which you may find some time to highlight later, in terms of what are the key steps that TCRA has taken to ensure things are in place to support fintechs.
For us, as the TCRA, they're not the primary regulator. And as you can see, the natural progression of fintech is through most of them are just, they digital lending. It is digital lending. That's the natural progression of fintech. So the one who can have a bigger chunk in those kind of support through the primary regulator, which is the BOT. Then for us, it's a bit on infrastructure, cybersecurity, awareness, providing the required resources. So those are already in place. Maybe if removing barrier, those are the kind of issues we can address in order to accommodate the fintech. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for that. I'll move to my colleague from Costech. I know Costech it's part of the ecosystem that drive fintechs in Tanzania. Would you like to share some of the issues that you've been facing and some of the success stories in your space? Mr. Hussein Shaban, are you still with us? All right, probably as Mr. Hussein prepares himself for this, I'll move to my colleague Annette from UNCDF. Being a development partner working with different sectors in Tanzania, what are some of the measures that have you taken toward unlocking fintech industry potential and the potential to contribute to the digital economy in Tanzania?
Thank you, Peter. And I'll try to be brief because some of the things that I think I wanted to share on that context have already been presented by other speakers. But I think from UNCDF perspective, we kind of like started being quite active in the ecosystem back in 2020, 2021, where we started by kind of like understanding the landscape. And this was really aiming to see who is who. Like there are different objectives of why we needed to do a study, essentially to have a repository of information of who are the players and what types of fintech do we have in the ecosystem in Tanzania, because we hear about credit and payments, but is there more? And essentially kind of like assess what are some of the challenges and opportunities. And I'm happy to share, like I can share the links to that study. And I think Ruben did a good job of kind of like summarizing some of the challenges that we found there. And only I think one thing that I could add from that, for us, we are looking at the same lens, like we are looking from talent, availability of talent, capital, policy and regulatory, as well as demand for fintech solutions. So the demand aspect, I think that's what I would like to add on the Ruben summary of the 4 things he mentioned earlier on. And out of that, I think it kind of like led us to start seeing what interventions we could do or what measures we could do introduce to the market. So we launched an accelerator program, again, coming from the fact that fintech is a heavily regulated space and it's highly technical in the sense that you are operating at the nexus of technology and finance. So we saw the need to have a more specialized or sector focus accelerator program. So this is PesaTech. Again, this was launched in 2022. We have already just finished the first cohort, and at the time we are doing a call for a second cohort. So with the accelerator, our goal really is to support early stage companies to be able to kind of like de-risk them at the early point so that they can develop certain proof points for them to be able to be investable and to go on the growth trajectory. And we do this with partners, again, kind of like building on our approach on how we engage in the market, where we use market system approach. So for the second cohort that is on the call now, we have partnered with ANZA Entrepreneurs, also in partnership with the NMB. Again, I think kind of like responding to some of the things we are hearing already, this lack of collaboration and partnership between the different, so we are seeing the need to bring in more established players to also engage with startups. So for NMB, I think we're looking for the opportunity to leverage the sandbox. And of course, there is a consortium of other partners. So all of this is under the EU-funded Digital for Tanzania program. So beyond the acceleration, we also launched, or there is a call for the first Tanzania Angel Accelerator program. So again, addressing issues related to capital, availability of capital and financing. We see the opportunity to kind of like tap into Tanzanians or people who are in the country who have some additional income and probably are looking for new assets that they could invest in. There are a lot of new startups that are coming into the market. So how do we upskill potential investors in the country? So there is also a call going out for those who are interested to become angel investors. Again, I can share the links in the chat at some point. So, and beyond these acceleration, we also do some research and thought leadership, because we are coming from a point that information is needed for all the ecosystem stakeholders and the fintech themselves to know what is happening in the market. So again, we have done a number of studies, and I think this is essentially just putting out public good that can inform different players. I'll share the links again in the chat for those who are interested, but if I can quote the latest one we just did this year, was looking at the demand for fintech products. So it's essentially called Fintech for Who. There lies an analysis of who could be the potential users of these products, their income segments, and what drives them to acquire different products. And I think these are some interesting insights for those players in the ecosystem that they could leverage in designing their next generation of products. So I'll pause there, Peter, and happy to elaborate further if questions come in.
Thank you. I think there will be some questions. I have another question for you, but I'll keep it for the second round. Is my colleague from Costec back? Mr. Hussein Shaban, are you back?
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Okay, thank you for coming back. Yes, so yes, I can hear you and I can see you as well. I believe the.
Okay, thank you. There's an error.
No problem.
Costec, as we rightly said, we are promoting innovation, and we have the DTBI and the hubs here. Of course, one of the major challenges which I want to share with you is the lack of testing bed, the solution sandboxing. Young people here, they come up with good solution in fintech, but when they want to go and test it in the government or in the private sector, they are not welcomed. So that has been a major challenge to our innovator. And of course, I'm happy that the BOT have come up with a proposed regulation. I think that will address partly on this particular challenge. The second one is on the issue of lack of specialized skill in the country. As you know, when you develop a solution, in particular in the fintech, you need to meet the international standard. So when our young people come up with a solution, they look around and see if they can get an expert to help them to upgrade their solution and meet the international standard. That is where there is a problem. But also, when you look at our university, they are still using the old curriculum in the IT, and we don't get the real expertise. As one of the participants said, we have the issue of talent, which of course start from the university. When they come into an incubator also, we get maybe 100, we try to reduce them to a level, but still the number of talented young people in Tanzania in this particular area is not enough. Another challenge, of course, it was also mentioned by the guy from Tafina, is the issue of funding. But for Costec, when we look at the funding issue, we look at the funding for promoting the innovation, but running this incubator. Running incubator, you need a lot of money. And we try to establish incubator at the universities and the other places in the municipal, but getting funding to run this incubator is an issue. But also getting the people, for example, from abroad to help our young people to meet the international standard in their solution is also another issue, because we need big money to bring someone from abroad. That is an issue of funding. But of course, Costec, being a promoter of innovation, but also we are supporting research. There have been a number of research that has been done in these areas, and we have the research output. This research output has to be consumed by the policymaker. But of course, policymakers are not taking the research product easily, because it's through this research product you can advise on the policymaker to change some of these policies, which has been mentioned by other colleagues in the rooms. We have, of course, as I said, the issue of funding, of course, we need to try to attract donors to fund the innovations in this country. But of course, donors are getting fatigued, and government also have a lot of pressing issues, and funding the innovation is becoming a real issue, especially in the fintech. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Shaban, Mr. Hussein Shaban, for giving us that highlight. I think the panelists and myself as a moderator, we've been speaking for quite some time. I would allow at least people to have questions. Victor, have you received any question that you can share with us so that at least we get responses and we get those burning issues responded by the panelists? Victor?
Yes, thank you, Doctor. So we've received one question whereby I think this must be a fintech. So, depending on the questions that, on the things that Tafina raised in terms of challenges that the fintechs are facing in the market, I think the person is basically asking, so maybe, from their side as fintechs, maybe what do they need to do, in order to really support the government in addressing some of these things, especially when it comes to, addressing them quickly, increasing their pace when it comes to addressing some of these issues, especially the ones that are related to policies and regulations. What sort of condition, or maybe what kind of support do they need from the fintechs themselves in order to, to fast track some of the interventions, some of the solutions that that aim to address some of the challenges that they're facing?
Okay, Tembo.
Thank you, moderator. My name is Ruben. But yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question. So at the beginning I said, what are the challenges that we face as fintech operators in Tanzania? And I think subsequent speakers have also spoken on top of the same four main things that I said. So one was partnership, funding, talent, and regulation. So yes, so on the question that what are we doing, or how can we actually support in resolving some of these challenges? I think, so we have an idea of what the solutions could be for these challenges. But again, we need to be able to have a roundtable and speak to other stakeholders. So I'm talking about regulators and investors to see what would work for us, or what would work for this ecosystem. I think it's Edmund from Central Bank and Luisa who spoke about the fact that fintech may have some of the solutions to these challenges. So I have four that I have highlighted, and I'm going to share right away. So on the issue of collaboration and partnership, we think there should be some sort of a policy or a policy implementation that focuses on saying this collaboration that is happening, or that are happening between fintechs and established players, is actually driving financial inclusion or driving digital inclusion in the market. And there should be some sort of like partnership audit on maybe on an annual basis. I don't know, just pick a few partnership at random and see if everything is actually toward promoting what the national financial inclusion framework is promoting. So that would be one way of looking at it, to make sure that there is fair competition and we're actually pushing for collaboration in the market. The second thing that I think we should do is to maybe develop or draft a policy around increasing access of key infrastructure. And I'm talking about financial infrastructure or digital infrastructure that fintechs would need to make sure that the cost of offering their services is a bit lower. That would also help in reducing some of the challenges on the first part that I said about. So I'll give an example of a typical access that fintech would really love to have, and it would increase the innovation that is happening in the market. So today we know TIPS. So TIPS, which is the instant payment switch for Tanzania, featuring banks and mobile money operators, right? But for fintechs to have access to TIPS, today is not practical. It's not available basically. But ideally, what that means is for fintechs to do national or domestic payments, they will have to rely on a partner who would also charge them, and that makes it expensive for fintechs to offer the same service to the end users. So if there was a policy or there was a way of or an arrangement where fintechs can actually have direct integration or direct access to chips, it means payments will be more instant, but also that would foster more innovation around payments and national payments. So TIPS is one. Another one would be Brella. Another one would be NIDA. Another one would be TAN QR. So why I'm mentioning these is because these are something that if they were done, if access to these four things would be easier for fintechs, it means there's going to be more innovation and more inclusion that we will see. I think a gentleman from TCRA, probably is Engineer Fuad, said most of the fintechs primary regulator is central bank because they are doing lending. Most of them are doing lending. There is more to just lending, and we will see more than just lending if we are able to have access to these key pillars that I mentioned. And that would be something, maybe a particular arrangement that we need to have. So fintechs have an idea of how that would work. But again, at the end of the day, it has to be something that the regulator is also able to allow for the reasons that the other speakers have mentioned. The last one, I think, is more on sharing data or sharing customer data. And at least I'm saying this because there is precedence. If I need to offer, say, a savings product or an investment product to end users, and I don't have access to their bank statement, or I don't have access to their statement from M-Pesa or from Tigo Pesa or from Airtel Money, it means I have less information to build the product. So we are saying one of the solutions to this would be if there was a standardized protocol where we can share data and share the payment rails with the majority of financial service providers in Tanzania, that would bring about more solutions than problems. And I'm saying this to say that with more access to data and more access to customer data, and of course, given the customer consent, given customer instruction to do this, there will be more innovation around fintech services beyond lending. So payments, savings, account opening, merchant services, all these pieces, fintechs will be able to build more stuff if there was access to data and open APIs, but also access to chips, TAN QR, NIDA, and Brella in a way which is a bit easier. The last one is, of course, clear taxation and tax incentives for other people to participate in the ecosystem. That will touch fintech operators, to also touch I think, Kingu, just to make sure that it's clear and easier for people to remember this. So the first one I said is access to Brella, NIDA, TIPS, and TAN QR. Those are the four. The second was fair competition practices should be some kind of audited on yearly basis or monitored to make sure that we're pushing for collaboration rather than competition that hinders innovation. The third one is open APIs for data in Rails between players. And the last one was clear taxation and tax incentives. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that, Ruben. And so we have another question
Any
here.
questions? Oh,
yes, can you hear me?
yes,
Yeah,
I can
so
hear you.
yeah, we have another question from the audience, and I think this one, anyone can answer, even though it's referring to something that Ruben has said, but I think also Kostek has touched on this as well. So perhaps we can hear from him as well, or even anyone else who has a response to this. But so with regards to the concern raised by Ruben, a lack of talent, what are the intentional actions to retool young Africans to operate in the world-class standard to enable them to raise fintech in Tanzania to compete at the global level? So what are some of the things that need to be done, which go beyond education and training? So I'm guessing this, yes. Anyone who feels that they have a recommendation or what needs to be done can respond to this.
All right, I'll try. I'll try, and then I think Annette should be able to also add from the UNCDF. I'm saying this because from Tanzania Fintech Association, Tafina, we spoke about the challenge with talent and us being able to build fintechs and startups that can compete at a global stage, right? So for people who know me, I worked for Nala sometime. So the most famous fintechs from Tanzania, I would say. So I worked for Nala for almost a year. And Nala is known to have a lot of people from different countries. So that allows for exchange of ideas and sharing knowledge between people who are coming from Tanzania, who are coming from elsewhere in the world, in the markets where fintech is really developed. So number one for me is like, we need to be able to place our people or to place our individuals at different fintechs that have diverse human capital. So global fintechs, people who are working for, say, Flutterwave, right? People who are working for fintechs that are not from Tanzania should be able to bring all the learnings and should be able to share those learnings that they would have gathered from working with these global tech companies or global fintech. That's number one. Number two, which I think fintechs should be able to do, and we have agreed as a strategy at Tafina, that we would be happy to collaborate with universities to place students or interns at some of our fintechs or fintech operations in Tanzania and beyond, to make sure that they have practical view or practical experience of working with fintech. So that would, on top of the theories that they would do at the uni, they're able to add the practical experience of working with a fintech in Tanzania or with a startup in Tanzania. So we would be able to do that collaboration and to increase the quality of the skills that our people have. The last one, which is very important, and I think Annette spoke about it, is accelerators. And I want to talk about accelerators in a different manner, right? So Annette spoke about accelerating investors, which the Angel Investors Accelerator. And she also spoke about accelerating startups, which is the PesaTech accelerator. I want to add a different kind of an accelerator. I know people who have worked in banks or in financial services providers, people who have worked in mobile money, have more experience to build stuff, have more experience to understand what is going on and are the real challenges. And I'm not saying people who are new don't know, but I'm saying people who have worked, they have lived experience, they have seen challenges firsthand, should be able to build better businesses. But what is missing is an accelerator that can accelerate these people who are transitioning, say, from a corporate job at telco or from a corporate job at a bank to start their own business. So I came from banking. I worked in banks for the last, 10 years. Abel Kaseko would know this. People who are working at NMB, NBC, Barclays Bank, they would know me. But essentially, the transition from a bank job or a normal 8 to 5 job or a normal mobile money good job to fintech, to startups, needs some sort of an accelerator that we would take advantage of. And I think that would create a bigger pool of talent that is able to build businesses or build fintech and startups in Tanzania. If I'm not clear, please ask me another question, but thank you so much.
Thank you, Ruben. Now I remember your name, Natembo.
Yeah. Kostek. Yeah, Kostek, of course, on the issue of talent, we did a pilot to, Mr. Chair.
Proceed.
Yeah, we did a pilot of introducing the coding in the primary school to see if we can build the talent from there. Of course, it was done in Manyamala Primary School and it's still going on. So that's one area we thought maybe we can solve that the talent issue. But of course, my colleague mentioned the issue of internship for these people who can attend internship in those major IT companies that can also address the issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we have remained with few minutes. Of course, we have extended our time. Are there any other quick burning questions so that I allow my panel to have 30 seconds final word, starting with the Bank of Tanzania, start with Trafina, start with Bank of Tanzania, and then TCRA, COSTECH, UNCDF. If there are no questions, Victor, are there any questions?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I think this is more of a comment, but of course it's open for, if anybody has a response to this. So it's somebody saying that, just 1 second here. To boost partnerships, there must be less red tape. They have recently been asked by a financial service provider for whom they approached with a financial product. They were asked whether NIDA has approved a product. So they're basically saying that this adds another layer, and obviously it adds to cost of doing business with institutions which should not be approving, but simply be notified. So I don't know if anybody has a response on this, on the the red tape when it comes to approving some of these financial solutions or products that that fintechs are putting together in the market. And yes, so it's open. If anybody has a response, please feel free to share. But it's a comment that we thought is relevant to this conversation.
Yeah, so if anyone has any comment, but it should be brief because we are running out of time. If there is there anyone with comment from either TCRA, Bank of Tanzania?
Yeah, from TCRA, I think.
Hello?
This was okay. Hello?
Dr. Ruiza, proceed and respond, and then Mr. Ford will.
Okay, if I got the question more clear, you want to know whether you can allow financial technology without regulation. Is that what you meant?
So I think it's more on the layers of approval. There's so many. So they're saying that there are so many layers of approvals for the financial
It's more
product.
good. I want it to be clear.
Yes, yes. So
Yes.
it's
Okay.
more on the layers of approvals. Yes.
Okay, let me respond. Currently, for the Bank of Tanzania, what we are planning to introduce maybe very soon, upon the approval of the government, we allow the financial technology innovators who have the innovations or the solutions which are suitable to the financial sector under the bank supervisory mandate. Will be submitting them to the regulatory sandbox. Those solutions will be tested in the live environment, but which is restricted. If a market has got, let's say, 60 million or 50 million customers, then one may be allowed out of those 60 million people, may be able to test within the 5 or 4. So that environment will be restricted. But upon exit from the sandbox, so the bank may make any decision to see how that solution will be taken care of. Those approvals, levels of approvals, in fact, they're not they're inevitable because they manage the risk in the economy. We have to balance two. You have to allow innovations, but still, and to look at the financial stability or financial integrity. So that's what makes having some level of approvals, so that for managing risk. So there is no way you can have. You can allow the fintech without putting some levels of restrictions. Otherwise, the market might be detrimental to the financial sector.
Thank you, Dr. Luis. I know there was a comment that I saw someone from TCRA wanted to respond to this. Engineer.
No, actually, I second thank you, Chairman. I second the Dr. Ruiza's submissions. I think there should be some sort of oversight by the regulators and and BOT is in a good place to oversee those kind of innovative solutions. Thank you.
Thank you for it. I see some hands raised up. I don't know if it's something very urgent or it's both from you. There's one from Edmund. Edmund, do you want to comment anything?
No, I just wanted to comment a few. Sorry for this. I don't wish to waste the time. You know, the regulatory sandbox, which is under preparation, as Dr. Luisa said, it is for financial solutions which are under my regulatory ambit of the Bank of Tanzania. So maybe this forum, people would wish to understand. Someone commented that maybe there would be a centralized centralized sandbox. So regulators, of course, have mandates to prepare the regulatory sandbox at their own institutions to monitor the innovation under the institutions which are supervised. So this, which is being stated as a regulatory sandbox, is that for solutions which are under supervisory mandate of the Bank of Tanzania. Again, in a coordination of a national financial inclusion framework, we are having the initiatives that every regulator should develop the regulatory sandbox under its own regulatory ambit. That is what I would like to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you, Edmund, for the clarification. And so I would trust that there are not any other questions, whereby I would like welcome not more than 30 seconds, just final comment, anything that a panelist forgot to mention or think it's really important to mention. 30 seconds, please, because we need to wrap up this session. I'll start again with I'll go backward. I'll start with UNCDF. Annette.
Thank you, Peter. Just as a wrap up, I think this was a very good discussion, and probably we need more discussion like this to bring together the regulators and the fintech ecosystem players, because I think it's only from forums like this where we can be able to kind of like figure out what are the next steps. And probably just a call for other development partners in the room, like ourselves, FSDT and others who are attending, because the fintech ecosystem in Tanzania is a very like nascent stage and it's about to kind of like take off. I think there's an opportunity for development partners as well as the government to de-risk some of these innovation to help them get to a point whereby they can be commercially attractive. So I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Annette, and that sounds excellent. Now, Kostek, my colleague from Kostek, 30 seconds, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, we thank you. We thank the organizer for letting us participate in this good forum. We think this will continue. We are sure that we'll collaborate. We'll work together with the partner, the player and the fintech to see how we can resolve these challenges. Thank you.
Thank you very much. TCRA, my colleague, engineer.
Thank you, Chairman. That was a very productive session. Maybe from TCRA is that we support the innovators by providing them with resources, specifically the USSD code. So for those who are interested in testing their product and they need the USSD code, they can still get the resource for free, but they have to go through Kostek. Thank you.
Thank you. So Bank of Tanzania, I'll start with Dr. Luisa and then Mwabukusi. Karibu. Brief, just 30 seconds, please.
Okay, thank you very much. For me, I would like to insist on the two issues. Number one, we have the National Financial Inclusion Framework, the third framework, which is available on the Bank of Tanzania website. So you can go through and try to read on how it operates. It has a national steering committee and it has a National Technical Committee. within which Tanzania's Fintech Association is a member. So there are strategic objectives and initiatives of which we are aiming at, including the fintechs in financial, in supporting the usage and the accessibility of financial services in the country. Number two, I, as an engineer, I am now researching in the domain of fintech and innovations. And currently, I'm researching on CBDC, central bank digital currencies, and the cryptocurrencies. So those interested in doing further research in fintech and innovations, we can team up and come up with strong solutions which can boost the fintech in the country. So those intending to research in this domain, you can communicate via email. The organizer can give you the email and the mobile number. Then we can collaborate and research in this domain and have tangible answers to the president and to the regulators in this country. Thank you very much, President.
Thank you, Dr. Luisa. Mombokosi.
Yes, Dr. Peter. Of course, we have said a lot, but I would like to congratulate you for these initiatives to make the public be aware on what is going on about the digital economy. So on our side, we will keep on putting our efforts to make sure that we implement the regulatory sandbox in a few months to come. So I cannot say more because we have been talked a lot about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Last but not the least, Mr. Ruben.
Thank you so much, moderator, for making me the last person. I think one thing I wanted to say is we are very much, as an association, Tafina is very much working closely with the central bank. As the last speaker said, we are also part of the National Financial Inclusion Forum technical committees. But yes, we are also very happy to be able to work with other secondary regulators. So CMSA, TIRA, TCRA, as we move forward, and we'll be able to do more with them as well. But I really appreciate the fact that we have had this conversation. It's good to start this type of conversation and keep going from here. For those who know Tafina, we are very open to all sort of members. So please just go to our website, tafina.or.tz. You can also join as a member, or if you have a fintech or a fintech related sort of service, feel free to join. We're very happy to have all of you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, the panelists. Thank you, the audience. I will wrap up by saying a couple of things. This has been very exciting and interesting discussion, and it gives us as FSDT an opportunity to move forward with how we want to approach the fintech ecosystem. We'll be working together with the Bank of Tanzania, UNCDF, the Minister of Finance, to do like a diagnostic study that will be used to design a background paper and come up with a policy framework, which we believe, based on what you have said, has given us an opportunity to gather some preliminary evidence and an opportunity to work with you in the near future to design the fintech policy and regulatory framework that we believe will be the driver of digital inclusion in Tanzania in the next years, in aligning with the Vision 2050 and the bigger strategy that the country is trying to implement.